Chapter 55. Belong to me? Gu Mingming's eyes were glazed over, losing some of their clarity. They looked like they were in a state of chaos and confusion. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, but that smile was not her usual unbridled and pretentious smile, but a little infatuated. Yes, belong to you. Li's voice was still calm. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, carrying the confidence of controlling everything. He was like a deity, looking down on all living things. Elvis secretly released his beast pressure, interrupting the intimate interaction between Leah and Gu Mingming. Leah glanced sideways, looking at Elvis with a puzzled gaze. Elvis took over the already half-conscious Gu Mingming from Li's arms, his brows furrowed tightly, looking at Leah with blame and disapproval. She is the messenger of the beast deity, so she must stay in Saint Nazaire. Leah did not seem to understand Elvis's implied meaning, but seemed to be using this attitude to remind Elvis. And this is the simplest and most effective method. Elvis's brows furrowed even more, because he also knew that Leah was right. As the tribe leader, he should consider for Saint Nazaire, and using the fox's seductive fragrance to keep the messenger of the beast deity was also one of the plans he had approved. It was just that at that time, he did not know that the messenger of the beast deity, whom he had never met, would be the one who always surprised him, made him break his rules, and made him call her leader uncontrollably. When she wakes up, she will blame us. Elvis looked at the defenseless Gu Mingming, who had fallen into a deep sleep in his arms, thinking about how her clear eyes would be filled with hatred and anger when she opened them again. He felt a sharp pain in his heart. To her, it's just two more outstanding males following her. She has nothing to lose. Moreover, if she gets angry because of the fox's seductive fragrance, the only one she cannot forgive is me, not us. Leah seemed to be prepared for anything from the start, regardless of whether the outcome was good or bad. If that's the case, you can kill me in front of her to vent her anger. As long as the messenger of the beast deity can stay in Saint Nazaire and make Saint Nazaire stronger, it's worth sacrificing my life. Things have not reached that stage yet. Elvis interrupted Li's words. After going through life and death for so many years, he had long treated Leah as his family. Their blood and flesh were intertwined, and they treated each other with sincerity. Although the thought of sharing Gu Mingming with Leah made him feel as though there was a fishbone stuck in his throat, Elvis treasured Leah like his own hands and feet. However, Leah smiled indifferently and glanced out of the cave thoughtfully. If she could mature a few years later, or even a few months later, I would not have to use the fox's seductive fragrance to mate with her. But now, no matter how different you and I are in her heart, the difference between us and other males is not big. You know, if you want her to really stay, her first child has to be between you and me. Only then could Saint Nazaire keep her. Otherwise, she can leave with her males anytime, and we can only choose to abandon Saint Nazaire or become stray beasts. Elvis clenched his fists instinctively. There were some lines that could not be crossed. But if he had to sacrifice Gu Mingming for his ideals, his principles and his bottom line, he could not bring himself to do so. Perhaps Leah was right. Even if they took advantage of the time when Gu Mingming was bewitched by the fox's seductive fragrance to mate with her, Gu Mingming would not suffer any loss. Even if she did not like them because of the fox's seductive fragrance, she could easily find other partners and leave him and Leah alone. She could even break off their partnership in the blink of an eye. Chapter 56. She will not belong to anyone else. No one can take her away. Elvis turned around and carried Gu Mingming to the grass in the cave, so that she could sleep more peacefully. Leah did not stop Elvis from leaving. He just looked at him quietly. When he walked out again after settling Gu Mingming down, Leah had already collected all his emotions. His eyes were so deep that they seemed to be able to see through everything. His voice was so calm that there was not a single ripple in it as he stated in a light tone, "You have already fallen in love with her." Elvis did not say a word, he just frowned and looked back at Leah. After a long while, he nodded his head slightly. Yes, he liked Gu Mingming, inexplicably, so much so that he could not extricate himself. He and Leah had planned for Saint Nazaire for so many years, yet he had miscalculated his own restless heart. So this was how it felt to fall in love. Gu Mingming used her big, lively eyes to teach Elvis how to make his heart beat. So, he would never let go of this mischievous female no matter what. Luckily, Gu Mingming was coincidentally the messenger of the beast deity. So Elvis did not have to choose between the tribe and Gu Mingming. Leah did not seem to be surprised at all. Yes, that female was the messenger of the beast deity. She had countless attractive points on her. She was beautiful and intelligent, kind and gentle. Most importantly, she represented the beast deity and was the supreme authority in the beast world. It was an honor to be able to stand by her side. Which male could not be tempted? What about Barit? Do I need to warn him? No need. Elvis had his pride as the leader of the tribe, or rather he had his pride as a male. Leah nodded his head. He had absolute confidence in Elvis's abilities. Or else he would not have bet everything he had to support him, to help him reach the peak, to build Saint Nazir into the strongest tribe in the beast world, to recreate or even surpass the glory of Sauter in the past. I will not tell her about what happened today, but not again. But don't do it again. Elvis warned Leah seriously. His tolerance towards Gu Mingming was zero. Leah raised his head, and his gaze drifted to somewhere outside the cave. Without a clear focus, his gaze seemed a little hollow, and even his voice sounded ethereal, as though it was near yet far away. It would be best if she could stay in Saint Nazir according to her own wishes. But what if she didn't think so? If one day, she falls in love with another male? She's mine, Elvis interrupted Leah. His meaning was clear. No matter how many partners Gu Mingming had in the future, his position as the first partner would not change. I'm glad you're so confident. Leah smiled and shrugged. After taking a deep breath, he turned around and walked towards the entrance of the cave, leaving Elvis with a proud and aloof back view, and a faint sentence. I'm going to prepare for the night campfire party, and send those males away at the same time. Elvis did not stop Leah from leaving and only sighed softly. Yes, he also hoped that he could continue to be this confident. Not long after Leah left, Gu Mingming slowly woke up. She did not feel much strangeness, and only felt as if she was drunk. She remembered being in Lee's arms, and how she wanted to pounce on Leah and Elvis with lust in her heart. But she did not know that she was like that, because Lee's Fox's seductive fragrance had magnified the little greed in her heart. She only thought that she was too daring for lust, and wanted to pounce on Leah. But how could she dare to think about Leader? Was she not afraid that Leader would swallow her whole if he was unhappy? Aside from the topic, today, she clenched her teeth and bought a new computer. Chapter 57. Come here. Elvis waved at Gu Mingming and said, I know you're awake. Gu Mingming, who wanted to continue pretending to be asleep, opened her eyes helplessly and flipped herself up from the grass. She smiled awkwardly but politely and said, Leader, who will you choose tonight? Elvis's silhouette was hidden in the shadows and Gu Mingming could not see his face clearly even though they were very close. What? Gu Mingming's little heart froze because of Elvis's words. Who would she choose tonight? Was it the same as the Emperor flipping the cards? Gu Mingming's mind automatically replayed Lee's ambiguous actions and seductive words, and her little face could not help but burn up. Damn it, Leah looked like an otherworldly flower. Why was he so good at flirting? And he even led my leader astray. Give me back my cold and abstinent leader. Who is this introverted slut? I must have a fake leader. Gu Mingming was busy cursing in her heart, and could not care about her facial expression. Hence, there was no longer any politeness on her little face, and only awkwardness was left. Elvis reached out, and pulled Gu Mingming into his arms. He rested his chin on the top of her head, so that she would not see through his expectations. He knew that Gu Mingming was a little afraid of him, but he did not know why. He hoped that Gu Mingming would look at him with an obviously infatuated gaze like how she looked at Leah. But other than the first time they met, she had never looked at him like that again. Who will you choose as your first partner at tonight's night campfire party? Elvis tried his best to sound calm, but he himself did not know how much trepidation he was feeling when he asked this question. He was anticipating her answer, but was afraid of hearing someone other than his name. Sorry, Gu Mingming had to disappoint Elvis's expectations. because at that moment, it was as if a nuclear bomb had been thrown into her brain. What first partner? Leader, have you forgotten that I'm still a young female? An underage one. Gu Mingming instinctively crossed her arms in front of her chest and looked at Elvis, who was smiling bitterly with a guarded expression. She thought to herself, although this is the beast world, as a beast, there must be ethics and 3 principles, right? To lay hands on an underage female, that's enough to anger both man and God. Isn't that incomparably high and mighty beast deity of theirs going to come out and do something about it? You're an adult today. Elvis rubbed his chin against the top of Gu Mingming's head, his eyes filled with a gentle smile. You're in heat today. What? Gu Mingming could not hold it in any longer and blurted out. I am a pure and innocent young lady. Why would I be in a relationship? Elvis tilted his head and looked at the furious Gu Mingming with a doting smile. The scent emitted from Gu Mingming's body did not seem to be covered by the medicine Leah had prepared. Instead, it had a vague feeling of wanting to say something, making it even more irresistible. This sweet and fragrant scent was like a pair of invisible hands that tickled Elvis's sensitive nerves. There was a voice that kept whispering beside his ears. You're female, she has matured. Gu Mingming had goosebumps from Elvis's laughter. She cleared her throat and lowered her head timidly, saying, Leader, I am not scolding you. I just want to express my shock. I'm really a young female. It's impossible for me to be in heat. You have to believe me, really. Chapter 58. What has it got to do with me that they went berserk? Gu Mingming pouted unhappily. She was not going to be the scapegoat. They became like this because the smell of you in heat is too alluring. Elvis smiled helplessly. If he could, he really wanted to hide Gu Mingming away, so that no one could covet her. But she was the messenger of the beast deity. I already said that I'm a young female. I won't go into heat. Before Gu Mingming finished her sentence, she suddenly thought of something. Her face was burning hot, as if it was on fire. She swallowed her saliva and asked, Leader, do you guys call menstruation as heat? Menstruation? Elvis clearly did not understand what Gu Mingming was talking about. It's when a woman. Oh no, it's when a female is in a bad mood every month, and is especially irritable for a few days. Gu Mingming tried to use common sense to communicate with Elvis, but Elvis revealed an even more confused face. Females only have a bad mood for a few days every month? Why did he feel that females seemed to be in a bad mood every day, and were irritable every day? Just like how I am now. I'm not injured, but I bleed. Gu Mingming felt that her bottom line had been pushed to the 18th level of hell these 2 days. Why the hell did she have to explain to Elvis what menstruation was here? Elvis nodded at Gu Mingming's eager anticipation and said, Yes, your current situation is called heat. Gu Mingming covered her face with both hands. 10,000 divine beasts were galloping in her heart. Damn it! A female that was not in heat was called a female, but one that was in heat was considered an adult. So, she had already been an adult for 5 years, but she still pretended to be an adult in the beast world, and even attracted a bunch of demons and monsters to give her a coming-of-age ceremony. What kind of setting was this? What happened to being a queen after transmigrating? What happened to being either a royal consort or a beloved concubine? What happened to being a head servant with a cheat code? Why did she transmigrate to this barbaric era, where men were in abundance and women were in decline? Damn it, all the women in the world were in a different color. Did all those years of watching palace scheming, empresses in the palace, and every step of terror go to waste? Gu Mingming was wailing in her heart. Gu Mingming's world was collapsing. However, Elvis remained calm. Although he did not know why Gu Mingming had such a weird expression, she looked exceptionally cute when she rubbed her palm-sized face into the shape of a bun. So Elvis poked Gu Mingming's puffed-up little face in an untimely manner and asked playfully, In the beast deity's world, you call estrus as menstruation? Gu Mingming nodded instinctively, but after 2 nods, she realized the problem. The world of the beast god? Elvis knew she was not from this world. Gu Mingming suddenly raised her head and looked at Elvis. Her lips were pressed into a straight line, and her blinking eyes were filled with shock and uneasiness. Those who are not of the same race must have a different heart. Their sins must be punished. Elvis would not be such a person, right? Bo. Leader. Gu Mingming could not help but stutter, her teeth chattering uncontrollably. She swallowed a mouthful of saliva and touched her neck, which was emitting a cold breeze. The image of Elvis transforming into his beast form and piercing her artery with his sharp fangs appeared in her mind. Elvis's mood dropped. He did not understand why the little person who was fooling around in his arms just now would suddenly look at him with such a guarded gaze. He preferred her carefree and unbridled look. Gu Mingming being so careful was not like her. His Gu Mingming, when she was beating someone up, she should be beating Nina up on the platform of the deity's punishment. When she was happy, she should be eating roasted meat with Sandy. When she was in trouble, she should be looking at him with wide eyes and saying, "Leader, please protect me." But only she should not be so cautious. Aside from the topic, my first promotion is still so far away. Do you guys know? I can already feel Gu Mingming's urge to strangle me. Chapter 59. Seeing Elvis frowning, Gu Mingming became even more nervous. And the moment she got nervous, she naturally bled. The barbaric sanitary pad prepared by Leah could not absorb Gu Mingming's ferocious amount of blood, so a bewitching red flowed down Gu Mingming's thigh. That warm current completely shattered Gu Mingming's self-esteem. What the f***ck? It was embarrassing enough for her period to bleed through her pants, but now it was dripping down in front of him. Gu Mingming felt that she had never been so embarrassed in her life. So she bent her knees and squatted on the ground, bawling her eyes out. Eat. Anyway, I can't beat you in a fight, nor can I outrun you. I can't do anything if you want to eat me. But can you be gentler when you eat me? I'm afraid of pain, sob. Elvis was dumbfounded by Gu Mingming's crying. He did not know why Gu Mingming was afraid of him. And now that he heard Gu Mingming say that he wanted to eat her, he did not know where to start. Was it not obvious enough how much he doted on her? Or, in the beast deity's world, the way males express their love for females is to eat them? Elvis was very glad that no one liked Gu Mingming in the beast deity's world. Unless I die, no one can hurt you. Don't be afraid. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming with heartache. He always knew that the messenger of the beast deity must have gone through many hardships to be able to serve by the beast deity's side. But he never thought that the other world would be so cruel to females. If Gu Mingming knew what Elvis was thinking, she would definitely explain it to him properly. Anyone who suddenly fell into a crowd of demons and was surrounded by a bunch of demons with green eyes would feel a sense of danger. Moreover, she was obviously guarding a demon king boss. But it was obvious that Gu Mingming did not know how to read minds. So she obviously did not know what Elvis was thinking. She just wiped her tears and looked at Elvis with misty eyes, asking, "You're not going to eat me?" "I'm not eating," Elvis answered firmly. "Not going to eat in the future?" Gu Mingming asked. "No." Elvis's heart skipped a beat, and his gaze turned as gentle as water. Just because she said in the future, just now. Gu Mingming blinked her eyes and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. She asked, "Are you really not going to treat me as reserve rations?" Elvis rubbed Gu Mingming's little head dotingly and promised solemnly, "What you're worried about will definitely not happen. Don't let your imagination run wild." Gu Mingming sniffled and finally smiled through her tears. "You should have said so earlier if you don't want to eat me. You made me worry for a long time." Seeing Gu Mingming's relaxed look, Elvis also heaved a sigh of relief. After this ordeal, his initial uneasiness and anticipation were also disrupted. With the current atmosphere, he could no longer ask Gu Mingming who she would choose as her first partner tonight. Gu Mingming. A female's careful call came from the cave entrance. "Sandy." Gu Mingming tilted her head and peeked her little head out from Elvis's side. She looked at Sandy, who was standing at the cave entrance timidly and did not dare to enter. She grinned and said, "Are you here to play with me?" Sandy was still a little afraid of Elvis. Although Elvis had never done anything to her, And it could even be said that she and the other females could live peacefully in St. Nazaire because of Elvis's abilities and Lee's intelligence. But she could not explain why she was still afraid of him. So Sandy waved at Gu Mingming and said, "Can you come out for a while? I have something for you." Gu Mingming's heart melted when she saw Sandy's actions that resembled a lucky cat. She nodded her head hurriedly and rushed out. But she had only taken 2 steps when she was lifted up by the waist. When her feet left the ground, her legs were still flailing in Sandy's direction. Gu Mingming's face turned into a steamed bun from anger. She turned to Elvis and protested, "Leader, you're lifting me again." Aside from the topic, to be honest, I have always been in a dilemma regarding the question of 1v1 or NPC. Logically speaking, the Beast world has always taken the NPC route, and my original idea was also the same. But the great editor said that the current readers are pure and cannot accept the setting of NPC, so the outline that I submitted to the editor is for 1v1. The male lead is set to be Elvis. You can tell it's him just by looking at the title. But if the little babies like to read NPC and think that NPC is acceptable, I feel that I can discuss with the editor again. Because to be honest, Leah is a character that I like very much. He is very smart, has wisdom and is rational enough. However, a person who is too smart always thought that what he did was reasonable and controllable. When he realized that he was wrong, he was already deeply hurt. Chapter 60. I've said it before, I don't want to hurt them. Elvis's tone was fierce, as if he was answering Gu Mingming's complaints, but also persuading himself to resist the urge to go out and beat up those males who were drooling at Gu Mingming's entrance. Gu Mingming was instantly terrified. She waved at Sandy and said, "It's not convenient for me to go out. Why don't you come in?" I don't dare to." Sandy lowered her head in embarrassment and peeked at Elvis from the corner of her eyes, looking extremely lovable. Leader. Gu Mingming was such a smart person. She had already realized that Sandy seemed to be especially afraid of Elvis at the platform of the deity's punishment, so she used her own weight to swing herself into Elvis's arms. She looked at Elvis in a flattering manner and said, "Leader, I'm feeling terrible now. Can you let Sandy in to talk to me, please?" Elvis was very satisfied with Gu Mingming throwing herself into his arms. But he was a clean freak. Other than Leah, only Gu Mingming could enter his cave freely. Nina was taught a lesson by Elvis, because she used her female identity to barge into Elvis's cave time and time again, angering him. So everyone in St. Nazaire knew that Elvis did not allow others to enter his cave. And the males in the Beast world had a strong sense of territory. So it was normal for Elvis to be a little clean freak. As Sandy was a female and good friends with Gu Mingming, Elvis could tolerate her entering his territory. But reaching the entrance of the cave was already the limit. Elvis was not willing to let her in. But if he did not let Sandy in, Gu Mingming would have to go out. Looking at the group of drooling males at the entrance, Elvis nodded with a black face, allowing Sandy to enter. "Thank you, leader." Gu Mingming cupped her fists and thanked him in a gangster-like manner, before jumping down from Elvis's body and pouncing on Sandy. Sandy had never been treated so passionately by a female before, and was not used to it for a moment. She blushed shyly, and allowed Gu Mingming to do whatever she wanted on her body. She rubbed left and right until she was satisfied. Then, like a girl confessing to her first love, she shyly took out a small parcel wrapped in leaves, and passed it to Gu Mingming. She blushed and said, "This is for you." "What is this?" Gu Mingming did not stand on ceremony, and took it over while asking. It felt a little sticky to the touch, and had a faint fragrance to the smell. Gu Mingming's eyebrows twitched and she was overjoyed. She put the sticky hand into her mouth. It was slightly sweet. "This is yellow sauce. Although it can't compare to the roasted rabbit meat you gave me, it's already the most precious food I have." Sandy carefully observed Gu Mingming's expression. She was so afraid that Gu Mingming would despise the yellow sauce she had sent over. Although it was rare, it was not something that Gu Mingming had never seen before. Moreover, she only had so little. "Sandy, thank you." Gu Mingming gave Sandy a bear hug. She rubbed her little face against Sandy's chubby little face in satisfaction, to express the ecstasy in her heart. You're really my lucky star. With this, we can improve our meals. Sandy also smiled. She was very happy that Gu Mengmeng did not despise her gift, and treated her so sincerely and passionately. In her memory, other than the mother beast, no other female had ever treated her so well before. Just because she was just a half-orc. Gu Mingming's smile was as warm as the sun. It made people squint their eyes unknowingly and smile along with her. Aside from the topic, Leah and Gu Mingming really lived up to that saying. A person who knows how to love taught a person who doesn't know how to love how to love. But when the person who doesn't know how to love learns how to love, the person who knows how to love doesn't dare to love anymore. This is not the ending I want to see. Lee's past is already hurtful enough. He deserves a warm family and lover. This is the character setting that I made up for him. This is the compensation that I originally wanted to give him. But if the ending can only be a 1v1, then Leah is destined not to have a good ending. But no matter what, it still depends on everyone's opinion. If Leah can gain the favor of most of the partners, I can bring the public opinion to negotiate with the great editor to see if it can be written as a 1v2 or 1vn. Oh right, I created a poll in the novel. Partners can choose the option that you support. Chapter 61. It's great to be able to help. Sandy's voice was so sweet, like a gentle breeze blowing through flower petals. Other than gentleness, there was also a hint of fragrance. You didn't just help me. You saved my life. Gu Mingming hugged the yellow gravy with both her hands exaggeratedly, and sniffed it with all her might. With this honey, the next time we roast meat, it won't be so bland and tasteless. Sigh. Although I still want oil, cumin, chili sauce, but it's good enough that we have honey now. We can slowly search for the other things. We will definitely find them one day. Honey. Sandy tilted her head. She liked Gu Mingming very much, but sometimes she could not understand what she was saying. Gu Mingming raised the leaves in her hands and teacher Gu explained to her. This yellow gravy. Another name is honey. That's what we call it at my place. Oh. Sandy nodded her head, not really understanding. She knew that Gu Mingming was a female that Elvis had brought back from outside the tribe, so she interpreted the term honey as a dialect from Gu Mingming's original tribe, and did not take it too seriously. Can you tell me, where did you find this? I'll get some later too. No way. No way. Before Gu Mingming could finish her sentence, Elvis and Sandy objected at the same time. Their attitudes were surprisingly united and firm, as if there was no room for negotiation. Gu Mingming was taken aback by their sudden tacit agreement. Their roars from both sides almost made her drop the honey in her hands. Why not? Gu Mingming was confused. Sandy was not a petty person. She would not object just because she was unwilling to share the honey with Gu Mingming, or else she would not have taken it out on her own today. Elvis was even more confused. He was a wolf that ate meat. Why would he compete with the honey? Sandy held onto Gu Mingming's shoulders with both her hands and said anxiously, "If you want to eat it, ask your partners to help you gather it. I can let Bode lead the way and tell them where the nest of the yellow needle insects is. But you must not go find it yourself, understand?" Why? Gu Mingming was still confused. Aya, just listen to me. Don't go by yourself, okay? Sandy was extremely anxious. Gu Mingming was the only female that treated her well. She did not want her to risk her life just for some food. Thinking that she might die near the nest of the yellow needle insects, Sandy's nose turned sour and tears started to fall down her cheeks. Sigh. Sigh sigh. Sandy, don't cry, don't cry. Gu Mingming was also a gentle girl, but she could not bear to see tears, especially the tears of her good sisters. It was Gu Mingming's weakness. Gu Mingming stuffed the honey into Elvis's hands and carefully wiped Sandy's tear-stained face with her slender and fair hands. She said in a gentle tone, like a kindergarten teacher coaxing a child who refused to let go of his mother's thigh, "Good Sandy, stop crying. Look at you, your face is all tear-stained. It's just a little bit of honey. I won't go if you don't let me. At most, I won't eat it. Don't cry, okay? Really? Sandy's shoulders trembled as he asked. Chapter 62. Roasted meat is very delicious, Sandy said as she sobbed. Although she did not understand why Gu Mingming would talk about roasted meat when she mentioned yellow sauce. As a conscientious female, who had personally tasted the deliciousness of roasted meat, Sandy felt that she should defend the roasted meat. How is that considered a delicacy? That's just to prolong my life and barely fill my stomach. Just wait, I'll make something better for you later. Gu Mingming patted Sandy's back lightly. Looking at Sandy, whose eyes lit up at the mention of food, Gu Mingming deeply understood that nothing could pacify a foodie better than food. Sandy's eyes were filled with anticipation as she looked at Gu Mingming. She swallowed her saliva but still shook her head, saying, "I'm just a half-orc female. I'm not worthy for you to treat me so well." Gu Mingming tilted her head and blinked her big eyes, asking, "So what if you're a half-orc female?" Sandy touched her furry ears with a sense of inferiority. She wanted to cry but forced a smile, saying, "It's very hard for a half-orc female to give birth to cubs. I've already been an adult for 2 years, but I haven't given birth yet. That's why I'm always being bullied by Nina. Even my males are mocked by Nina's males." Gu Mingming felt a little heartache as she looked at Sandy's desolate look. She recalled Nina's looks and compared it with Sandy. From her aesthetic point of view, Sandy was much prettier than Nina, but Nina was known as the first beauty of the tribe, while Sandy could not even lift her head up after being bullied by her. At the start, Gu Mingming thought that the males in the beast world had a problem with their aesthetic standards, and only considered Nina's cross-eyed, upturned nose and big yellow teeth as beautiful. But from what she heard now, it seemed like the so-called first beauty of the tribe was just a difference in the degree of evolution. Nina did not have any animal characteristics on her body, while Sandy had a pair of furry bear ears. Was it because this pair of ears could not evolve into a human form? So she was called a half-orc? So she was inferior? So she was bullied by that ugly Nina? What the heck? So what if Sandy had difficulty in giving birth? Her males did not even mind. Why did Nina, an outsider, care so much? How many children did Nina give birth to? Gu Mingming raised her head and asked. There was a tinge of envy in Sandy's voice. The hand that was touching her ear unknowingly tightened, causing a bloody mark to appear on that furry little ear. But she seemed to not have noticed it as she answered Gu Mingming's question. Nina and I came of age in the same year. She gave birth to a nest of eaglets for Quentin last year, but for some unknown reason, they did not survive. A nest? Gu Mingming was shocked by this quantifier. Not surviving is the same as not surviving. Then why should she laugh at you? Gu Mingming did not mind pouring a bottle of Laogan Ma on Nina's wounds. When Nina bullied Sandy, she had never been merciful. Now, as long as it could make Sandy happy, Gu Mingming would do anything to poke Nina's heart. But Sandy felt that Gu Mingming's logic was not wrong. Although Nina was a complete female, she had been an adult for 2 years. Yet she was still unable to give birth to a new cub for the tribe. What right did he have to laugh at himself? I know buts. Gu Mingming nudged Sandy lightly with her shoulder, interrupting her little worries. Then, she covered her mouth with her hand and whispered into Sandy's ear. Sandy, do you still have the pad you use when you are in heat? Lend me one, I can't take it anymore. Sandy then noticed the meandering blood stains on Gu Mingming's thighs. She hurriedly nodded her head and replied like a machine gun. Yes. I'll ask Bo to help you get it. Sigh. Gu Mingming wanted to stop Sandy. Damn. Asking a male to help her get a pad was very embarrassing. But Sandy had already dashed out of Elvis's cave like a gust of wind. She ran towards Bode, who was waiting for her at the border of Elvis's territory. While running, she shouted, Bode, hurry and help me get some of the pad I use for heat. Gu Mingming is in heat too much, she needs that pad, bring more of it. Aside from the topic, yesterday, she sneakily made it to the top of the list without any precaution or apprehension. Alright, since she was in the recommendation process, 1P would not be too far away. Rubbing her hands nervously, P.S. Chapter 63. Gu Mingming slapped her own forehead. What did it mean to have no love in life? What did it mean to have the best bad friend? Gu Mingming looked at Sandy's anxious and sincere look, and deeply understood the true meaning of these two words. However, before Gu Mingming could criticize Sandy, she felt a warmth on her back, and she fell into Elvis's arms. Leader? Gu Mingming did not understand what was wrong with Elvis suddenly, hugging and killing her from behind. Didn't he promise not to eat her? But why did Gu Mingming feel that Elvis had already opened his mouth and was about to bite her neck? You promised not to eat me, sob sob sob. Gu Mingming's heart trembled violently. Leah prepared a few cushions for Estrus. They are placed in the cave. Elvis's heart ached for Gu Mingming. She had been living in fear every day in the beast deity world, so she was so cautious and always felt that someone wanted to eat her. He also felt defeated. He had promised her so seriously that he would protect her, but she was still so afraid. That frightened bunny-like appearance made people feel pity and heartache. Ha! Gu Mingming snorted bitterly. If that was the case, why did she borrow sanitary pads from Sandy? If you like the yellow sauce, I will go get it for you, don't worry. Gu Mingming blinked her eyes in confusion. Why did she feel that Leader had become so weird ever since he returned from the platform of the deity's punishment? Was it because of Leah? Gu Mingming suddenly felt that he seemed to have discovered something incredible. Leader did not allow others to enter his cave. Even precious females like Sandy and Nina did not dare to enter easily. But Leah could walk in openly, as if he was returning to his own home, and could even casually leave sanitary pads in Elvis's cave. And Leader was not angry at all? No wonder Leader asked her who she was going to choose as her first partner tonight. So it was because of Lee's weird ambiguous behavior just now. Damn, Leader treated her as his love rival. The more Gu Mingming thought about it, the more she felt that it was the case. Then, she nodded her head seriously and patted Elvis's arm earnestly, saying, Leader, I understand, don't worry. You understand. Elvis's heart was beating wildly, and he looked at Gu Mingming in surprise. Elvis flipped Gu Mingming over in his arms and stared straight into her watery eyes. His gaze was as deep as a thick ink that could not be melted. Even he himself could not clearly express the turbulence hidden in his eyes. But she said that she understood. Did this mean that she already knew his feelings for her? Gu Mingming tiptoed and tried her best to reach his shoulders. Unfortunately, her height was a handicap, and she could only reach his chest even after using all her strength. Thus, she patted on his muscular chest like a hooligan, thinking to herself that since they were all sisters, there was no need to be so formal. Chapter 64. With Gu Mingming's promise, Elvis felt much more at ease. He also started to look forward to tonight's campfire party. Even if it was him, he still had a little bit of vanity. He hoped to gain Gu Mingming's approval in front of everyone in the tribe and become her first partner. Thinking that he would have an official status tonight, it was the first time in Elvis's life that he wished for the sun to set. Gu Mingming, come quickly, this is for you. Sandy was waving the barbaric version of a sanitary pad in her hands as she ran towards Gu Mingming breathlessly. She stuffed the sanitary pad into her hands and said, quickly change into it. The sky is going to turn dark soon. Bo said that the campfire party is almost ready. Gu Mingming's smile was a little complicated. If Sandy's expression was not so sincere, she would have thought that Sandy was purposely pranking her. 10 pairs of eyes outside the cave were glaring at her with green light. Once they heard that she was going to change the sanitary pad, the green light became even brighter. Gu Mingming was speechless. It was just her period. Was there a need to attract so much attention? Elvis took 2 steps forward and stopped in front of Sandy. He said expressionlessly, bring your partner to the campfire and reserve a spot. Gu Mingming will follow me later. Oh, all right. Sandy was still afraid of Elvis. She did not dare to stay any longer after he gave the order to chase her away. She took a small step back timidly and stretched her neck to look at Gu Mingming. Then I will wait for you at the campfire. Come over quickly. All right. See you in a while. Gu Mingming was always gentle towards Sandy. Sandy's departure caused a commotion among the males. She had too much of Gu Mingming's scent on her, causing the single males to be so excited that they could not control themselves. Luckily, Bode and the rest had been protecting Sandy all this while, and did not let this bunch of fellows hurt her. The moment Sandy left, Elvis tore a thick piece of beast skin from the side, and punched it twice, each punch creating a dent on the edge of the cave entrance. He forcefully embedded the beast skin into the wall, and turned it into a simple curtain, completely blocking off the drooling gazes of the males outside the cave. Sandy's eyes were filled with salivation, but at the same time, Gu Mingming was completely blinded. Bo, leader, I can't see. Gu Mingming stretched both her arms forward, fumbling around in the darkness. I'm here. Elvis frowned and strode towards Gu Mingming. He held onto her little hand that was groping around in the dark, and brought her into his arms. What happened to your eyes? Nothing happened to my eyes. Gu Mingming held onto Elvis's arm tightly, and refused to let go. She curled up in Elvis's arms like a little kitten, seeking a sense of security. Elvis thought, everyone has their own past that they don't want to talk about. Her eye injury must have caused her a lot of pain in her heart. That's why she didn't want to talk about it. Elvis frowned slightly. He suddenly felt that her smile was very piercing to his eyes. She was obviously suffering physically and mentally, but she still had to smile stubbornly. She hid her own pain, and licked it away alone. Without saying a word, Elvis scooped Gu Mingming into his arms, and placed her on his thighs. Then, he neatly lifted up her skirt, and pulled down her underwear. He helped Gu Mingming change into the sanitary pad that Sandy had just sent over. Then, he tidied up her clothes and hugged her in his arms again, placing her on his chest. Aside from the topic, oh right babies, I created the reader group, but I don't know how to manage it. Are there any babies who know how to manage the group and have time? Chapter 65. Gu Mingming was dumbstruck throughout. Wasn't this too against the rules? Although they were sisters, it was Gu Mingming's first time letting someone else do something like changing sanitary pads for her. Although Elvis's actions were clean and smooth, without any hint of lasciviousness, she still felt really embarrassed. How could she break it? Bo, leader. Gu Mingming sorted out her thoughts, and was actually speechless, unable to find a suitable sentence to express her feelings. In the future, I will be your eyes. Elvis's voice was deep and rich, just like an old European piano from the last century. The sound he played was smooth, solid and could shock one's soul. Gu Mingming facepalmed. Why did she feel leader's deep pity? Was she being discriminated against by a wolf? Was she being discriminated against by a wolf? Gu Mingming really wanted to shout. I can't see because you sealed the cave entrance. Not because I'm blind, all right? But leader looked so emotional now. It did not seem suitable to say that. Gu Mingming bit her lower lip, pouted and lowered her head to admit defeat. You have night vision, you're good. Change to a new beast skin dress. This one is not good. What Elvis did not mention was that this beast skin dress was stained with Gu Mingming's scent of estrus, enough to make all males excited. He did not like to display her seductive look, and even more disliked the way everyone was coveting her. But I don't have any other clothes. Gu Mingming shrugged her shoulders. She was also helpless. After transmigrating, she only wore a set of bikini. Who would know her helplessness? You do. Elvis carried Gu Mingming, and walked into the depths of the cave. In the darkness, Gu Mingming, who was extremely uneasy, wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck tightly. Even though she had gradually adapted to the darkness, she still felt insecure. Until Elvis stopped in his tracks. Gu Mingming widened her eyes in disbelief at everything in front of her. There was a faint light in the depths of the pitch-black cave. It was dim and unclear, and she could not see clearly. Gu Mingming originally thought that she had stayed in the darkness for too long, and her eyes had problems. In the end, Elvis walked in front of the light and lifted his hand. A luminous pearl the size of a fist suddenly appeared in front of Gu Mingming's eyes. Damn! What a tycoon! Strictly speaking, the luminosity of this luminous pearl was not even comparable to a candle, and this faint green light made people feel as if they were filming a horror film. But to Gu Mingming, this was practically, a gift from the beast deity. Like a baby looking at a milk bottle, Gu Mingming tried her best to grab the luminous pearl. Elvis did not waste any time and directly stuffed the luminous pearl into Gu Mingming's hands, asking with a smile, "Do you like it?" Gu Mingming nodded vigorously. I like it, I like it. I love it." "Then take it and play with it." Elvis said it in an extremely relaxed manner, as if he had just given an alpine to the neighbor's child. Gu Mingming hugged the luminous pearl in her arms, afraid that she might accidentally break it. She touched it left and right happily, saying, "I'm just taking a look. I'll return it to you later." But her eyes never left the luminous pearl for even a second. Elvis smiled dotingly. "I can give you anything you like." Chapter 66. Elvis smiled helplessly. Gu Mingming was always very special. She treated things that were common in the beast world as treasures, but things that had a great impact on the beast world were just at her fingertips. She did not care about them at all. Just like the yellow sauce that Sandy gave her. Although it was hard to obtain, it could be obtained as long as one was strong enough. Another example would be this luminous pearl. Although it could glow, it was useless to orcs who had night vision. Only females would think that it looked good, so they played with it. But Gu Mingming was smiling so contentedly, as if she had obtained a precious treasure. Seeing how Gu Mingming was playing with the luminous pearl, Elvis did not restrain her. He placed her on the ground and carefully protected her, so that she would not bump into the walls or other things in the cave. As long as there was no danger, he allowed her to run around the cave like a child, holding the luminous pearl and shining it here and there. And Elvis, who was following behind Gu Mingming, was still smiling lightly. He liked that his cave was filled with Gu Mingming's scent, and also liked that his territory was filled with her shadow. Ouch! Gu Mingming was having too much fun and accidentally tripped on something. She was about to fall flat on her face. Luckily, Elvis had quick reflexes and grabbed onto Gu Mingming's slender waist, preventing her from touching the ground intimately. Meanwhile, Gu Mingming heaved a sigh of relief. She patted the non-existent dust on the luminous pearl that she was protecting tightly in her arms and said, thank goodness you didn't fall." Elvis was a little angry. In times of danger, the most important thing she should do was to protect herself. If he had not protected her just now, her arm would have definitely been bruised. And all this was just to protect that stupid pearl. Elvis held onto Gu Mingming's armpits with both hands and pulled her in front of him. Keeping their eyes level, he said in a low voice, "Promise me, no matter what happens, you will prioritize protecting yourself first. But this luminous pearl is the first gift that leader gave me." Gu Mingming's innocent gaze pierced through the faint glow of the luminous pearl and landed directly on Elvis's heart. The corners of Elvis's lips curled up uncontrollably. It was a pity that the luminous pearl was too dim, or else Gu Mingming would definitely be stunned by Elvis's smile. "It's about time. I'll help you change your clothes." He couldn't wait to become his official partner. Ha! Gu Mingming almost bit her own tongue upon hearing that. The shame of changing sanitary pads hadn't faded yet, and now he was going to help her change her clothes? Wouldn't he have seen everything then? No. Gu Mingming shook her head like a rattle drum. No need, leader. I can change it myself." "You can't see," Elvis insisted. I can see it. "Don't I have the luminous pearl that boss gave me?" Gu Mingming smiled stiffly as she raised the luminous pearl in her hand, indicating that she could really see it. However, Elvis grabbed the luminous pearl that was the size of Gu Mingming's fist with one hand, just like a normal person holding onto a small sugar orange. Then he exerted a little force. Crack. Chapter 67. You can't see it now. Underscore. Leader, if I didn't know you liked Leah, I would have thought you were a hooligan. Gu Mingming wanted to cry but no tears came out. Such a huge luminous pearl was crushed just like that. Leader. Gu Mingming sounded like she was about to cry because her heart ached for the luminous pearl. You're gay. Why are you competing with me, a female? Be good. Elvis pulled Gu Mingming into his arms and rubbed her furry little head with his chin. Her aggrieved look was really lovable, and Elvis started to fall in love with the feeling of bullying her and making her look at him helplessly. In the absolute darkness, the only person Gu Mingming could rely on was Elvis. Hence, she wrapped her little hands around Elvis's neck tightly and looked as if she had nothing left to live for, but could not bear to die, her heart aching for the luminous pearl that had been crushed into pieces. Elvis was completely unaffected in the darkness and calmly took a deerskin dress for Gu Mingming to change into. Although he was not very familiar with it, he managed to put it on smoothly with Gu Mingming's cooperation. Gu Mingming had spent most of her attention on the luminous pearl and had firmly believed that Elvis and Leah were a couple. She treated Elvis as her sister from the bottom of her heart. Moreover, there was no light in the cave, and she did not notice Elvis's strange behavior. Hence, she did not put up her guard and allowed Elvis to change her clothes for her. But Elvis did not have it as easy as Gu Mingming. Originally, he just wanted to change the dress that was stained with her scent of estrus, so that he could quickly go to the campfire to gain her approval and become her rightful first partner. But when he really took off her clothes and saw her exquisite body, Elvis felt as if his body was a dead tree that was being devoured by the flame devil. Every cell in his body was burning. Something was boiling in his blood, gushing and surging violently. It was as if there was a voice beside his ears saying, "Eat her, eat her." Of course, this eating was not the eating. His rationality told Elvis that he had already obtained Gu Mingming's approval and promise. He just had to go through the motions by the campfire later, and he would be her rightful partner. After that, he would naturally be able to eat her up. But if he could not control his urges now, it was very likely that all his efforts would go to waste. What if Gu Mingming had a bad feeling about him before mating and refused to acknowledge him as her first partner? What's more, she was in heat, so it wasn't a good time to mate. After Gu Mingming changed her clothes, Elvis did not hurry to bring her out of the cave. On one hand, his body's excited state made him feel very uncomfortable. On the other hand, the males at the door still had green lights in their eyes, so he maintained his motionless posture while hugging Gu Mingming. While trying his best to calm his boiling blood, he secretly released an even stronger pressure towards the outside of the cave, to make those restless males restrain themselves. Gu Mingming was Elvis's female. How could she be coveted by just anyone? Gu Mingming, who did not know all this, was still feeling sorry for that luminous pearl while touching the clothes on her body. Although she could not see the style due to the lighting, she could feel that the size was very suitable and was definitely tailor-made for her. Moreover, she did not want to go out and face that group of wolves and tigers that could lose control at any time. So she chatted idly with Elvis and did not mention anything about going out. Digression. Chapter 68. It would be best if the campfire party could be dragged to the end. Gu Mingming did not want to find a first partner in the beast world. If she went back one day, how was she going to explain to others that she was hugging a son and not a pet? Leader, where did you get this shirt from? It fits me perfectly. I made it. Elvis answered casually, but there was a hint of anticipation in his eyes. Would she like it? She would like it. Io? Not bad. Leader, you're so awesome. You even know how to make clothes. Gu Mingming's lips twitched as she fell into her own imagination. She originally thought that someone like Elvis, who was extremely powerful, would definitely be a strong attacker, while Leah, who was like a high mountain flower, would be a weak taker. But it seemed like there was a chance now Leader actually knew how to make clothes with his attributes. Gu Mingming imagined Elvis sitting at the head of the bed sewing with a needle and thread, while Leah lying on his side with one leg casually stepping on the side of the bed, his elbows supporting the edge of the bed, and his palms supporting his head, looking at Elvis, who was making clothes for him in a gentle and silent manner. Gu Mingming felt her nosebleed boiling. Damn, that's such a scene. How can I break my HP bar when it's empty? It's urgent, I'm waiting online. All males will make clothes for their females. Elvis did not know why Gu Mingming said he was an ox. He was clearly a wolf, but it did not seem to be a bad thing, so he accepted it gladly. Oh, Gu Mingming nodded her head silently. So Leader's craftsmanship was honed by making clothes for Leah, and she was basking in Lee's light? Thinking about the clothes that Leah wore on the platform of the deity's punishment today, the quality seemed to be quite good. TSK, Leader really had no choice. Martial arts could bring peace and stability to a country. Literary arts could sew clothes and cook. Forget about cooking. Thinking about that charcoal roasted meat, Gu Mingming felt her stomach churning again. No one was perfect, Leader had already done very well. Moreover, Leah seemed to have a talent for cooking. The two of them complemented each other. You make clothes for me and I cook for you. Ayaya. So sweet, completely unaware that Gu Mingming's teasing had reached the ends of the earth. Elvis looked at Gu Mingming's joyful expression, and naively thought that she was smiling because she liked the clothes he made for her. When Leah sent you back yesterday, you were in a deep sleep. I made them while I was guarding you. There are still a few more for you to change into, Elvis said gently. Gu Mingming nodded silently, as she imagined a miraculous setting. Leah was like a strong and wise father, descending from the sky like a hero to save his daughter when she was in danger. Elvis was like a mother, staying by her unconscious daughter's bedside while weeping and making new clothes for her. This was to support the belief that her daughter would definitely wake up and not break down. Damn, the more Gu Mingming thought about it, the more she felt that it was true. No wonder Elvis and Leah treated her so well. It was because they desired a complete family. Gu Mingming looked at Elvis's direction in the darkness, as she started to sympathize with Elvis for no reason, due to the tragic drama of Cheong Yao that she had imagined. Thus, she stretched out her lotus-like arms, and took the initiative to hug Elvis's neck. She patted Elvis's back lightly and comforted him. I know. Chapter 69. She knew how he felt about her. Elvis felt that he was extremely blissful. Then let's go out, don't let Leah wait for too long. Gu Mingming thought to herself, although she did not know how long she would stay in the beast world. Since she was already hugging onto Elvis's thighs, she might as well hug him more thoroughly. Although it was a little unfair in terms of seniority, what other relationship could be more reliable than the relationship between parents and their children? Moreover, her godparents were extremely powerful and had power and influence. She did not lose out at all. Elvis's smile froze. After all, he could not have her all to himself, right? This morning when she woke up, the first person she looked for was Leah. When she was at the platform of the deity's punishment, her gaze towards Leah was so infatuated, coupled with the influence of the fox seductive fragrance just now. It seemed like tonight, Leah would definitely become Gu Mingming's partner with him. This was indeed the best outcome. If he had to share Gu Mingming with other males, it would be Leah rather than anyone else. Be it from the tribe's perspective or his personal feelings. If it was Leah, he would be the best candidate. Although he understood the logic, his heart still ached when he really had to face it. Looking at Gu Mingming, who could not wait to look for Leah in his arms, Elvis developed a strange feeling for the first time in his life. That feeling was sour, making him irritated and uneasy. It had nothing to do with danger, but it was accompanied by a deep sense of helplessness. Of course, Elvis did not know that this feeling was called jealousy. He just felt that his heart was very uncomfortable. Between me and Leah, who do you like more? Elvis was also very surprised that he actually asked such a pretentious question. But Gu Mingming could not help but burst out laughing. Wasn't this a damn question parents would ask kindergarten kids? Who do you like more, daddy or mummy? Damn! She did not expect that she would still be asked this question, even though she was already in university. The first rule of answering this question was not to offend anyone. Otherwise, she would definitely be remembered for life, and be brought up to be sarcastic every few days. Gu Mingming, who was well versed in this, cleared her throat and said in a very official manner, I like both of you treat me so well. I like both of you, indeed. Elvis's heart sank secretly. She really liked Leah. Between the two of them, which one do you prefer? This was related to the future status of the family. Who would be the first partner was very important. As expected, the extended question of whether he liked his father or his mother was. He could only choose one. Gu Mingming pursed her lips and thought to herself, Leader, you force me to use my ultimate move. Thus, he took the initiative and asked, What about boss? Do you like me more or Leah more? You. Elvis answered without hesitation. The corners of Gu Mingming's mouth twitched. Damn! Maternal love was indeed boundless, even godmothers loved their children more than their husbands. If I fell into the river with Leah, would you choose to save me and let Leah drown? Gu Mingming did not give up, and continued to ask. Leah knows how to swim. Elvis said calmly. Moreover, you are a female. Gu Mingming facepalmed. Why was Elvis able to answer the question that had tortured Chinese men for thousands of years so easily? Alright, in this place where yin and yang were out of balance, you're a female was really an all-purpose excuse. Chapter 70. Gu Mingming thought to herself. It seemed like it was impossible to bluff her way through. Even her ultimate move was easily neutralized by Elvis, so she could only face the problem head-on. After thinking for a while, Gu Mingming replied, I like Leader more. Why? Elvis's heart that was hanging in his throat finally calmed down. He suddenly realized that some nerves on his face were starting to go out of control, such as the corners of his lips. Gu Mingming thought. She could not possibly answer that it was because daughters were always closer to their mothers, right? So she touched her new clothes and replied in all seriousness. Because Leader helped me make new clothes and even found food for me. He treats me very well. Elvis's heart felt like it was soaked in yellow sauce, the sweetness seeping into his bones. He slowly stood up and carried Gu Mingming to the entrance of the cave. With a casual tug, he tore the beast's skin that was smashed into the wall. The bright moonlight covered Saint Nazir like a light veil, making one feel peaceful and peaceful. The males guarding the entrance eventually could not withstand Elvis's beast pressure, and left in groups of 2s and 3s. Anyway, it was Gu Mingming's coming-of-age ceremony tonight. It might be more effective for her to get a good spot by the bonfire than to wait at the entrance of Elvis's cave. Moreover, the risk was much lower. So, when Elvis carried Gu Mingming to the side of the bonfire, it was already crowded with people. Although the males consciously made way for Gu Mingming, the scene of them lining the path to welcome her was still too much for Gu Mingming to handle. Initially, she could still maintain a polite smile awkwardly, but after the males shouted, Gu Mingming, choose me to be your partner. Gu Mingming buried her face into Elvis's neck timidly. Meow, Gu Mingming wailed in her heart. She felt like she had entered a large-scale blind date, and the most perverted thing was that she was the only female guest in the entire place. Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming heard Sandy's voice amidst the hustle and bustle. This kind call made Gu Mingming feel blessed. She looked towards the direction of the voice with her doe-like big eyes, and saw Sandy waving at her. But what the hell is that behind Sandy? Logs as thick as one's thighs were built into a tower in the shape of a Chinese character. But it was not lit. Only Leah, who was dressed in bright red, stood at the highest point of the wooden tower. Seeing Gu Mingming's arrival, he mumbled something to himself while waving his long sleeves. It would be too exaggerated to say that he was dancing, It was more like he was dancing. If not for the bright red clothes that made him look like a shaman from television dramas, Gu Mingming would have thought that Leah was wearing a wedding robe and standing on a high place to force her to marry him. At this moment, Gu Mingming did not even have the time to think about the Chongyao style of love and hatred between Elvis and Leah. She just wanted to howl towards the sky. Who the hell would return my holy daddy Leah to me? This crazy shaman must be a fake. Seeing that she was at a loss, Elvis took the initiative to explain. When every young female matures, the tribe's witch doctor will pray to the beast deity, asking the beast deity to take care of this female, so that she can give birth to more strong cubs for the tribe. Gu Mingming pointed at Leah unwillingly and asked, "So he is praying for me now?" "Yeah." Elvis nodded. F***ck me. Chapter 71. Stop fooling around. Elvis frowned. She could do whatever she wanted with other matters. But how could she casually say that she did not need the beast deity's blessings? I really don't need it. Gu Mingming thought to herself. I am a pure and innocent young lady. I have not even been in a proper relationship before. And I'm already jumping to the segment of praying for children? Isn't it a little too fast? I still want to enjoy 2 more years of my single life. Elvis remained silent and just looked at Gu Mingming with a serious expression, exuding an aura of authority. Although Gu Mingming could not feel the pressure of the beast world, she at least knew how to read people's expressions. Thinking that the beast deity was the absolute authority in this world, Gu Mingming shook her head helplessly. The Qing dynasty was already dead. Why are you all still so superstitious? As a true believer of atheism, Gu Mingming really wanted to popularize the scientific worldview for Elvis and the rest. But she was terrified. Gu Mingming truly felt that if she continued to belittle the beast deity, Elvis's godmother would very likely burn her alive in the name of justice. Oh, she could also barbecue at the same time. Thus, Gu Mingming cleared her throat and pretended to be mysterious as she whispered into Elvis's ear. The beast deity has already bestowed me with many blessings. If I still wish for more, I will be too greedy. I will be punished by the heavens. Elvis paused and his expression was solemn. It was obvious that he deeply agreed with Gu Mingming's words. After all, Gu Mingming was the messenger of the beast deity. Thus, Elvis raised his head and howled towards the sky. Gu Mingming, who was sitting on the VVIP seat, witnessed this scene from a close distance. The shock she felt was indescribable. She felt all the cells in her body tensing up, her limbs turning cold, and her heart palpitating violently. After Elvis's howl, Leah, who was standing on the wooden pagoda, stopped praying as if he was dancing. With a few agile leaps, he easily jumped down from the wooden tower, that was as tall as a 2-story building, and stood steadily in front of Gu Mingming and Elvis. His long and narrow eyes looked at Gu Mingming with a tinge of doubt, as if waiting for her explanation. After all, Gu Mingming was the first person to interrupt the witch doctor's prayer. Gu Mingming did not know why, but whenever she met Li's eyes, her heart would race uncontrollably. No matter how much she told herself that Leah was her godfather, and that she was being carried by her godmother right now, she could not control her racing heart. Gu Mingming swallowed her saliva with difficulty as her throat became increasingly dry. She twisted her fair and tender fingers together and lowered her head. Like a child who had done something wrong, she explained softly, "It's too high up there, and it's very dangerous." "It's better if you don't go up if you don't have anything to do." Leah let out a light chuckle and hooked Gu Mingming's chin with his slender fingers, forcing her to look straight into his eyes. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, forming a beautiful curve, as if it was the work of that red robe. Leah, who was supposed to be as pure and holy as a high mountain flower, now had an extreme charm. Are you worried about me? At this moment, Leah was like a demon, like a sinner. He was obviously captivating, but so beautiful that people were willing to sink into him. The extreme holiness and the extreme temptation merged perfectly on Lee's body. Every move he made could dazzle people and make it hard for them to control themselves. Chapter 72. Leah seemed rather surprised. He tilted his head and looked at Elvis, who was hugging Gu Mingming. He held back his laughter and asked, "Are you worried about me? Because I went up to pray." Elvis also looked at Gu Mingming in surprise. He did not understand why she would say that. She had clearly said. Elvis suddenly thought of Gu Mingming's preference for Leah. She had said in the cave that she liked both him and Leah, so she would probably mate with both of them today. So she said that for the sake of a harmonious family relationship in the future? Elvis felt a slight pain in his heart. She was really thoughtful. Although Elvis knew that he would not have any problems getting along with Leah, it was still Gu Mingming's kind intentions. He could not bear to let her down, so he forced himself to nod and said, "Yes. It's too high, it's very dangerous." Elvis almost bit his tongue when he said the word dangerous. Guilty conscience, too guilty conscience. When he and Leah were fighting side by side, climbing the steep mountain walls, and leaping on the towering ancient tree branches were all as if they were walking on flat ground. Now he actually said he was worried because he went up to a high place. Leah clearly knew that it was not Elvis's intention, but he did not point it out. He just smiled meaningfully and nodded his head, before returning his gaze to Gu Mingming's flushed face. When he retracted his hand from her chin, he slid it lightly across her cheek, tracing along the curve of her face to outline her contours. He teased Gu Mingming in a seemingly nonchalant manner, before asking calmly, skipping the blessing ceremony, "Let's directly start the duel." Elvis nodded. Then, he grabbed Gu Mingming's armpits and lifted her above his head. Then, he placed her on his shoulders. After exchanging glances with Leah, the two of them used their hands and feet in unison to climb to the top of the wooden pagoda, like a gust of wind. When Gu Mingming finally reacted, she was already standing on the top of the pagoda in a mess. And the initiators, Elvis and Leah, stood on her left and right, looking like they were protecting her. They looked at the eager beasts at the bottom of the wooden pagoda, with a condescending attitude. "Leader, what is this for?" Gu Mingming was really afraid that her words would come true. Was this wooden pagoda really used to burn her? Even if she was made into a barbecue, it wouldn't be enough for so many people to eat. F***ck, F***ck, F***ck. Gu Mingming used a second to seriously regret. She should not have taught them how to use fire. Now, she was trapped in her own trap. "If you like any of the males that successfully make it here, just let us know. We'll be merciful." Elvis's expression was stern and serious. He sincerely hoped that he would be the only one standing here in the end. One more Leah already made him very uncomfortable. If there were more males, he had a premonition that his pain would multiply. But if Gu Mingming liked it, no matter how painful it was, he would endure it. After all, in the beast world, no male could monopolize a female. Moreover, a beautiful female like Gu Mingming would never lack pursuers. He had to learn to endure and adapt, because no matter how painful it was, he could not give up on Gu Mingming. Chapter 73. After hearing Li's words, Gu Mingming then recalled that the so-called campfire party was just a blind date that forced people to get married. Oh heavens, oh earth! Who the hell would get married on the day they came of age? The brains of the people who set this rule in the beast world must be filled with water, right? Gu Mingming jumped up from her seat with a start and hugged Li's thigh, shaking her head violently. "Daddy Leah, please don't go easy on me. I don't want to be taken away by others." Lee's long and slender hand with distinct joints covered Gu Mingming's head gently, his fair wrist blocking half of Gu Mingming's vision. From Gu Mingming's angle, she could only see Lee's thin lips curling up slightly, like a poppy blooming on the other shore, seductive and deadly, with a charm that made people willingly sink into it. As you wish. Leah shifted his gaze away from Gu Mingming's face and exchanged a smile with Elvis. They nodded at each other, having a tacit understanding. Although the beast world was used to having one female with many males, which male would be willing to share his own female with others? It was just that they did not dare to stop him, and could not stop him. Since Gu Mingming herself said that she did not want other males, they naturally would not do something like opening the city gates wide and inviting the wolf into the house. After all, it was enough for Gu Mingming to have Elvis as the wolf by her side. While Gu Mingming was talking to Elvis and Leah, the bottom of the wooden pagoda had already turned into a massacre. Although they were all males from the same tribe, and were partners who had gone through life and death with each other, no one would give in to the other when it came to courtship. The low line was just not to take the other's life, injure or cripple them, depending on their own abilities. The first person to reach the top of the wooden pagoda was Colin, the male who helped Gu Mingming wash the rabbit meat on the platform of the deity's punishment. At this moment, he was covered in blood, and it was hard to tell if it was his or someone else's. His rough face was plastered with hair that was wet with blood. He gave Gu Mingming an honest but determined smile, completely ignoring the injuries on his body and the intense battle just now. Gu Mingming, I'm coming up. Colin stood at the same spot. He knew that he could not win against either Elvis or Leah, who were guarding the tower. He also knew his own limitations, and had never thought of fighting with them for the position of the first partner. He would be satisfied as long as he could join Gu Mingming's family. Even if he could only stand far away forever and help Gu Mingming wash the rabbit meat, he would feel very happy. So he did not dare to advance rashly, because that would be seen as a challenge by Elvis and Leah. Are you willing to accept me as your partner? I'm strong and strong. No matter what you ask me to do, I'll do it. Colin said as he nodded heavily to show his sincerity. But to be honest, Gu Mingming had long been shocked by the blood on Colin's body. Isn't this a blind date? Shouldn't the screen be filled with pink bubbles, and everyone should send flowers, sing, or perform a talent show to win the beauty back? Why did the scene suddenly change and turn into a bloody storm? Was this still a matchmaking event? Are you sure it's not a gang fight on the streets? Gu Mingming was so scared that her blood froze. Her pale fingertips gripped tightly onto Lee's clothes uncontrollably. Half of her body was hidden behind Leah, but she could not help but poke her head out in concern. She asked timidly, "Are you injured?" Aside from the topic, "Thank you. There are no more stars in the sky for the flowers." As I was afraid that it would affect the updates, I had always stored the manuscript in the back end for regular updates. I only thanked the first fan of this book today, so my reaction was really slow. Chapter 74. Upon hearing Gu Mingming's words, Colin was not touched. Instead, his first reaction was panic. He carelessly wiped off the blood on his face, then explained hurriedly, "I only suffered some minor injuries. I will recover in a day or two. I won't become a crippled beast." Gu Mingming was taken aback for a moment. Then she understood what Colin meant. She panicked and could not care less about her fear anymore. She stood out from behind Leah and explained while walking towards Colin, "I didn't mean it that way. If you don't have the intention to accept him as your partner, then don't care about him so casually." Gu Mingming's wrist was grabbed by Leah. With just a little bit of strength, he pulled Gu Mingming, who was only 1 to 2 steps away from him, back into his arms. Then he looked up at Colin, who was full of anticipation, and said, "To become Gu Mingming's partner, you have to defeat either me or Elvis. Otherwise, you won't be able to gain our recognition." Colin frowned. He knew his own capabilities, and was also very clear about Elvis's and Lee's capabilities. It was impossible for him to defeat them by himself. But he could not give up on Gu Mingming either. So he took a deep breath, took a step forward, and stepped into the challenge zone. He said seriously, "Leah, I Colin challenge you." Leah nodded leisurely. Colin's decision seemed to be within his expectations. Leah handed Gu Mingming over to Elvis, gently tilting his neck to both sides as a warm-up. Step by step, he slowly closed in on Colin. His slender fingers stretched out one by one, his nails growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. With Lee's elegant steps, the blood on Colin's face was replaced by sweat. Logically speaking, he did not lose to Leah by much in terms of combatability, but his natural sense of danger kept screaming at him, telling him that it was not wise to go against Leah. But looking at Gu Mingming, who was being hugged by Elvis behind Leah, and meeting her worried and concerned eyes, Colin could not give in to the fear in his heart. He could not escape from Gu Mingming no matter what. Since they wanted to fight, then let's fight. However, where are your eyes looking at? Leah narrowed his eyes. His tone was calm but filled with a tinge of anger. He grabbed Colin's neck with his sharp nails, and easily lifted Colin, who was obviously much more muscular than him. "You're actually distracted when fighting me? Am I being looked down upon by you?" Colin held onto Lee's hand with both hands, but he could not move Lee's steel-like fingers at all. His flushed face was filled with unwillingness but helplessness. His bloodshot eyes looked at Gu Mingming longingly, not willing to move away even for a second. "You should be glad that you are a member of Saint Nazir." Leah maintained an elegant smile on his face the entire time, but Colin, who was in close proximity, could clearly see the coldness in Lee's smile. Leah was angry, really angry. Colin did not have the time to take another look at Gu Mingming before his body tilted backwards weightlessly. Like an abandoned puppet, he fell from the wooden tower that was 2 stories high. The last thing Gu Mingming heard was a loud thud. That was the sound of Colin landing on the ground. But such a situation did not attract the attention of the other males at all, nor did it reduce their enthusiasm. Rushing to the top of the tower meant that they were challenging Elvis and Leah, so such an outcome was expected. They were just fighting for a what-if chance. No matter how slim the chances were, they would never give up. Aside from the topic, why did Colin not challenge Elvis? Because he would die a worse death. Chapter 75. Don't fight anymore. Gu Mingming shook her head while shouting, but her shouts did not seem to have any effect. The males at the bottom of the tower tried their best to charge upwards, turning a blind eye to their companions being beaten down by Leah one after another. Leah stood proudly like the Grim Reaper, thick blood dripping from his fingertips, but a calm and enchanting smile remained on his face. This was the first time his hands were stained with the blood of his Saint Nazir companions. "Leader, hurry and stop Leah. We're all on the same side. Why do you have to do this?" Gu Mingming was terrified, curling up in Elvis's arms like a kitten, asking timidly, "I can't stop Leah. Unless you want to take in all the single males in Saint Nazir as your partners. Or else this battle will only stop if they give up and don't come up." Elvis's expression was stern, without a hint of playfulness. Even the leader of Saint Nazir cannot deprive other males of the right to mate. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, "But I will not choose them as my partners. There's no meaning in getting hurt like this." Elvis placed a finger on Gu Mingming's lips, moving the hand that was supporting the back of her head forward, sending Gu Mingming's little face to Elvis's lips. Elvis first kissed Gu Mingming's forehead lightly, then slowly moved his lips from Gu Mingming's cheek to her ear. His warm breath sprayed onto Gu Mingming's ear, moist and deep. "I'm very happy to hear you say this. But don't be too cruel to them. At least, give them a chance to fight for it." "No. Since I will not choose them, why should I let them get hurt for this false hope?" Gu Mingming watched as males dashed up the wooden tower one after another, drenched in blood, to the point where she could not even see their faces clearly. before being thrown down mercilessly by Leah. It was the height of the second floor. Males fell down one after another. Gu Mingming did not even have the courage to look down to confirm if they were still alive. And this bloody situation was still continuing, just to fight for a chance that she would not give them at all. No, it should not be like this. However, Elvis only smiled as he circled the agitated Gu Mingming in his arms. He used his chin to gently rest on her head, as his gaze landed in the direction where another male had been beaten down by Leah. He said arrogantly, "It's every male's pride to fight for the female he likes. Whether he won or lost, it was a supreme glory. You can refuse to accept them, but don't deny them the chance to prove their sincerity to you, understand?" But sometimes, Gu Mingming really could not understand what was going on in the minds of males with terminal male cancer. She knew that males had excellent hearing. They would definitely be able to hear her loud voice. But even so, he continued to charge forward. He clearly knew that he could not defeat Leah, much less Elvis, but he did not have any intention of retreating. Instead, he became braver as he fought, as if he was proving Elvis's words. "Today is your coming-of-age ceremony. You just have to sit here and watch us fight for you." Gu Mingming really felt very helpless. She just had her period and they had to make it so bloody. What the hell was going on? She watched as the males charged forward with a heart full of passion, but were beaten down before they could even say a word to her. As long as they could still stand up, they would continue charging forward as if they did not know pain, and then get beaten down again. Chapter 76. This senseless bloodbath lasted for an entire night. When the sun rose from the horizon the next day, and the first ray of sunlight shone on Gu Mingming's face, deafening cheers erupted from below the wooden pagoda. Gu Mingming turned her neck in a daze and looked at Elvis, who had been hugging her the entire time, with a pair of numb and empty eyes. Yes, this night, Elvis did not make a move at all. Leah alone blocked a single male from the tribe. "It's over." Elvis patted Gu Mingming's back lightly, then held her under her armpits with both hands, and lifted her above his head, facing the first ray of sunlight. The beasts below the wooden pagoda became even more excited, their cheers resounding through the sky. Gu Mingming still could not understand the meaning of this coming-of-age ceremony, but thankfully, it was finally over. Elvis carried Gu Mingming and jumped down from the wooden pagoda. Standing in the middle of a group of injured males, he pointed at the 2-story tall pagoda and said, "Look, that's your bonfire." Gu Mingming's eyes widened. Gu Mingming followed Elvis's finger and looked at the wooden pagoda. The blood had already seeped into the wood and was seeping out from the inside. The old blood had coagulated into a paste and wrapped around the round wood, as if a thick layer of blood had been applied to the original wood. Against the light, it looked like a static bonfire in front of them. And Leah, who was walking over leisurely, with his bewitching red robe fluttering in the wind, became the finishing touch to this scene, bringing it to life. Although the males were all injured, they were still unusually excited. In Gu Mingming's coming-of-age bonfire, they were the ones who could use their blood. Gu Mingming did not understand where the pride of the males came from. She only felt her eyes stinging and tears falling down uncontrollably. In the end, she laid in Elvis's arms and sobbed uncontrollably. "Gu Mingming, congratulations. From now on, you're the first beauty of Saint Nazaire." Sandy watched from afar for the entire night. Her state was the exact opposite of Gu Mingming's. She was extremely excited the entire night, and only came back to her senses when Elvis carried Gu Mingming down from the wooden pagoda. Then, she suddenly realized that Gu Mingming's bonfire was much redder and brighter than when Nina came of age 2 years ago. This meant that the males in Saint Nazaire acknowledged Gu Mingming more, so she naturally became the new most beautiful female in Saint Nazaire. Gu Mingming really did not feel anything towards the title of the first beauty. To be honest, being prettier than a bird's nest wasn't something to be proud of. Moreover, Gu Mingming felt physically and mentally exhausted. The emotions that she had suppressed for an entire night finally erupted the moment she saw Sandy. She did not know where she got the strength from, but she struggled out of Elvis's arms and pounced towards Sandy. She hugged Sandy's thick waist and started bawling her eyes out. As she cried, she shouted, "Sandy, what the hell is going on? How many people would die during a birthday celebration? Besides, it wasn't my birthday yesterday. I just had my period. Is there a need for blood to flow like a river?" Boo-hoo. Sandy was a little dumbfounded by Gu Mingming's crying. Her coming-of-age bonfire was so beautiful. If it was her, she would definitely be overjoyed. But why was Gu Mingming crying so sadly? Chapter 77. Sandy comforted Gu Mingming for a long time, but Gu Mingming just could not stop her tears. The males at the side felt their hearts ache, but they could not do anything about it. Even Elvis and Leah could only look at each other and shake their heads helplessly. "Gu Mingming, don't cry. I will roast the rabbit for you, all right?" Sandy's heart ached so much that the only thing she could think of was the delicious roasted rabbit meat. Sob sob. I need to add yellow gravy burp. Gu Mingming felt much better after crying out her suppressed emotions. Coupled with Sandy's gentle companionship, her emotions slowly calmed down. She had not eaten dinner last night, and thought that there would be delicious food during the night campfire party. So she did not pester Elvis to prepare a meal. Who would have thought that the so-called night campfire party was actually stained with the blood of males? Gu Mingming was indeed a little hungry after being on tenterhooks for an entire night. Now that Sandy mentioned it, Gu Mingming wanted to eat even more. All right. I will give you all the yellow gravy in Saint Nazaire, then don't cry." Sandy held on to Gu Mingming's little hand, her clear big eyes reflecting her figure. Sandy really could not understand Gu Mingming. Sometimes she was braver than anyone else, her fearless demeanor making others worry and feel that she was very reliable at the same time. But sometimes, she was as weak as a cub, crying so hard that others could not bear to scold her. They just wanted to give her all the best things in the world, just to get a smile from her. Yeah, Gu Mingming answered while sobbing. The males had long lost their minds after hearing Gu Mingming's crying. Now that she was willing to make a request, what else could they not agree to? Without anyone's instructions, a few of them who had yellow gravy at home ran back to get it. Not long after, all the big and small stuffed buns wrapped in yellow gravy were placed in front of Gu Mingming, scaring her silly. She thought that, "I'll give you all the yellow sauce," was just a kind of comforting words between bosom friends. And it was nothing more than that. Just like the cute and obedient girl in their dorm, who shouted yes for everyone in the dorm, only to be caught by the professor and given a harsh scolding. When she came back crying, the girl would also comfort her and say, "It's okay, I'll let you have Lu Han. From today onwards, Lu Han is yours alone. When the two of you get married, I will give you a big red packet too." Indeed, Lu Han and Guan Xiaotong had not announced their relationship at that time. But Gu Mingming's words were definitely not enough. Weren't those words just to coax someone? Damn, did the people in the beast world know how to joke? Gu Mingming could not keep up with him being so honest. "Gu Mingming, I'll help you find yellow sauce right now. I'll find as much as you want. Don't be angry, all right?" Colin limped over. Looking at Gu Mingming's blank expression, he guessed that she did not smile because the yellow gravy was too little. So he volunteered. "I'm very familiar with the yellow needle insects. I can definitely help you get a lot of yellow gravy." "Colin." Gu Mingming looked up and saw Colin's bruised and swollen face. She felt that this was the most beautiful scene she had ever seen. Not caring about the bags of yellow gravy in her hands, Gu Mingming stood up abruptly and hugged Colin. She said excitedly, "You're not dead. You're not dead. That's great. Thank the heavens you're still alive." Aside from the topic, today, I received a notification from the editor that there will be 1P on the 13th. The importance of 1P to a novel need not be mentioned by Jean. All the babies would know. So babies, during the 3 days from the 13th of November to the 16th of November, Please do not raise any novels. Because the rate of follow-ups is a very important statistic. Babies who can leave comments. Please start your performance PS. During the PK period, Giner will add one update every day. Then, all the babies who leave comments during the PK period will be rewarded with XXB10 for the first comment every day. If the content of the comment is related to the plot, the reward will be increased to 20 to 100 depending on the quality of the comment. Chapter 78. Colin was taken aback by Gu Mingming's sudden passionate hug. His body was so stiff that he could not move at all. He was like a piece of wood nailed to the ground, listening to his deafening heartbeat. Sandy looked at the agitated Gu Mingming, and then at Colin. Recalling Colin's brave and fearless look last night, she took a deep breath and suppressed the jealousy in her heart. Colin was such an outstanding male. He should definitely pursue a perfect female like Gu Mingming. How could he like a half-orc female like her? Sandy had already guessed it when she saw how hard Colin worked last night. Her last sliver of hope was that Gu Mingming might not like Colin compared to Elvis and Leah. But looking at it now, they looked so compatible when they hugged each other. Sandy forced herself to smile. Today was her only good friend Gu Mingming's first day of adulthood. Colin could become Gu Mingming's partner on the first day she established her family. Even if his status could not be compared to Elvis and Leah in the future, he would definitely not be bullied by others later on. That was good too. With that thought, Sandy smiled and walked forward. She gave her blessings sincerely. Gu Mingming, congratulations on becoming an adult. Elvis, Leah and Colin are all very good males. I believe they will take good care of you in the future. Huh? Gu Mingming froze on the spot, as if she was struck by lightning. She could understand if she was talking about Elvis and Leah. They were her godparents, and could be considered as a family. But what did it have to do with Colin? Sandy looked at Gu Mingming's confused expression. She stretched out a finger in confusion, and pointed at the two hugging each other. Didn't you decide to take Colin in as your partner? Gu Mingming followed Sandy's chubby little hand, and lowered her head to look. She suddenly let go of her hand, and gave Colin a hard shove. But Colin was not pushed badly. Instead, Gu Mingming staggered 2 steps back from the reaction. She shook her head, and waved her hands as she walked to Sandy. She held onto Sandy's chubby little hand, and explained like a husband who had been wrongly accused of cheating on his wife. No, there's no such thing as mating. I just thought Colin died because of me last night, so I felt guilty. Now that he's safe, I'm just too happy. It has nothing to do with taking in partners or not. But you hugged him. Sandy looked at Gu Mingming, her eyes filled with confusion. Females in the beast world were very precious, so they were well protected by the males. In other words, they were extremely arrogant. No matter how much the males had to go through, they would take it for granted. They would never be grateful, nor would they care about their lives. In any case, there were males everywhere. If they died, it would be his fault for being incompetent. Just look at Nina and you can see that. Her own males might not even get a hug just because she was alive, let alone other males. For the female to be so emotional and care about him, wasn't it because he was the partner she had chosen? Gu Mingming shook her head like a rattledrum, and explained hurriedly. You know that I came from the outside? In our country, it was normal for friends to care for each other and hug each other. Some would even kiss each other when they meet. This has nothing to do with mating. It's just a way to show politeness and friendliness. Aside from the topic, yeah, our Gu Mingming had unknowingly become a hooligan and molested the pure and innocent Colin. Equals is identical to sigma. Omega? Chapter 79. Care Hugs Kisses. A bloody smell enveloped Gu Mingming. Lee's fingertips that looked like they had been painted with nail polish slid across Gu Mingming's cheeks. With a hook of his finger, He pinched her tiny chin and repeated the 3 keywords word by word. His smile was deep, but it gave Gu Mingming goosebumps all over her body. Leah! Leah! Daddy Leah! Listen to my explanation. Gu Mingming's knees gave way, and she almost knelt on the ground out of fear. Damn it! She had watched the whole night of Black Leah. It was a wooden tower that was 2 stories high, and he did not show any mercy when he threw the males from the same tribe down. Gu Mingming deeply felt like she was kissing her Prince Charming for the first time, after chasing him for a long time. Damn it, when she turned around, her parents were standing behind her. That was a kind of thrill that even the most extreme horror movies could not bring. Damn it, what should she do? Yeah, I'm listening. Li's smile did not diminish, and he stared at Gu Mingming with an expression that said, I want to see how you are going to make it up. Gu Mingming racked her brains for a long time, but she could not think of a way that Leah could accept to explain what was social interaction and what was friendship. Damn it, in this beast world, was there any pure friendship between males and females? Damn it, even males acted out Brokeback Mountain. How the hell was she going to explain to Leah what was pure friendship? Leader, look for her mother at the crucial moment. That was Gu Mingming's last weapon. She looked at Elvis with a sullen face and wanted to ask for help, but Elvis's face was cold, clearly showing that he was on Li's side. Damn it! Wasn't family education, where one played the good cop and the other played the bad cop? When her father wanted to beat her to death, shouldn't her mother pounce on her father's thigh and say, if you want to hit me, don't hit me, I'm still a child? Why was it that when it came to her, her parents were on the same side? Where's the good cop? Where's the bad cop? Gu Mingming instantly felt that life was hopeless. She clenched her teeth and raised her head. Yes, our concern, hugs and kisses are all expressions of politeness. But I have no politeness. Li's smile softened and became doting. He pinched Gu Mingming's chin lightly and shook it a few times before letting go of her little face. He turned around and pulled her arm, throwing her back into Elvis's arms. He turned sideways to block Colin's entire line of sight. He casually fiddled with his sharp claws and said calmly, although the bonfire ceremony is over, I will still accept it if you want to challenge me. Although Colin really liked Gu Mingming, and that hug just now really gave him the urge to fight to the death. But if Gu Mingming was in a hurry to clarify and prove herself, it would be impossible for him to continue pretending to be deaf and not hearing anything. He did not mind if Gu Mingming did not like him. As long as he could take care of Gu Mingming and make her safer and happier, Colin did not really care if others liked him or not. But he did not want Gu Mingming to be put in a difficult position because of her. That would go against his original intentions. So Colin hurriedly waved his hands and said, No, I know I can't win. However, I won't give up. When I'm stronger, I'll challenge you again. I hope that at that time, you won't refuse to accept my challenge. Chapter 80. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming and gently wiped her tear-stained face. His gaze was gentle and doting, and his voice was very soft. Rather than saying that he was talking to Gu Mingming, it would be better to say that he was talking to himself. It's good that you don't have any manners, keep it up, understand? Gu Mingming did not even have the energy to complain in her heart. She was after all a good young lady who had studied Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping and Marxism-Leninism. Now that she was being taught not to be polite, her worldview was collapsing. All right, let's first announce the partners you have chosen. Then I'll go hunt and ask Leah to roast rabbits for you. Elvis tried his best to appear calm, not wanting Gu Mingming to see his anticipation. Even though Leah was the only one fighting with the challenging males last night, no one would doubt his abilities. Moreover, Gu Mingming's reliance on him and Leah was obvious to all, so no one would doubt their status as first partners. Now, as long as Gu Mingming opened her mouth and said something to give them a title, it would be enough. However, what partner? Gu Mingming was dumbfounded. Didn't no one beat Daddy Leah yesterday? Can't we just go home directly? Elvis smiled faintly. Gu Mingming, the messenger of the beast deity, really knew nothing about the rules of the beast world, but her clueless look was so lovable. Yeah, Leah worked hard for the whole night. You should at least give him a title. Elvis purposely did not mention himself, because Gu Mingming's attitude had already explained everything. She called his cave home. She wanted him to bring her back home, which meant that she had silently acknowledged his status as first partner. Because after the females in the beast world came of age, they would all stay in the cave of the first partner chosen during the coming-of-age ceremony. They would renovate the cave after mating, so that the females could live more comfortably. But the foundation was definitely the territory of the first partner. So his status had already been set, and there was no need to say anything more. What? What title? Gu Mingming stared at Elvis with her eyes wide open, then turned to look at Leah, who looked like a blood-stained lotus flower, and said with a dumbfounded face, Daddy Leah can't mate with me. It's against morality, it's intolerable. Lee's heart throbbed violently. He lowered his head in shock to look at where his heart was, before raising his head to look at Gu Mingming. She was indeed different. Because of her, this numb heart had already felt strange twice. Leah walked slowly to Gu Mingming, his brows slightly furrowed, not because he was angry, but because he was hurt. His slender fingers gently caressed Gu Mingming's face, his gaze filled with an incomprehensible hidden bitterness. You despise me, don't like me, so you don't want me, right? No, no. Gu Mingming hurriedly shook her head and said, You are my daddy, why would I despise you, not like you and not want you? Then why don't you let me be your mate? Leah did not know why his emotions would be so easily affected by Gu Mingming. He originally wanted to mate with her, because she was the messenger of the beast deity. But now, his uncontrollable heart was clearly telling him that it was not just that. He cared about this little female in front of him. That was why he tirelessly repelled everyone who tried to rush up the wooden tower last night. If not for his deep feelings for Saint Nazir, he might have lost control of his emotions and started a massacre last night. Out of topic. Gu Mingming. Xiao Jinzi, what are you doing? Author, digging soil. Gu Mingming. How old are you already, still playing with soil? Disdainful face. Author, Gu Mingming. You are not allowed to say that about my food. Gu Mingming Sigma. Oh? Oh. Author. Keep your shocked expression. Which woman doesn't eat soil for at least 300 days a year? Elvis. Gu Mingming, come over, the roasted meat is ready. Gu Mingming sprinted away, leaving Author, Gu Mingming's back view. What's so great about having a mate? She didn't go shopping on Singles Day, and actually came to abuse dogs. Chapter 81. You are my daddy Leah. Gu Mingming looked at Leah in confusion, thinking to herself, why are you saying you want to mate with me in front of Elvis? What kind of seniority is this? Leah squinted his eyes and asked, what kind of title is daddy? Does it have the same meaning as beauty? F*******. Gu Mingming's heart broke down. Damn it, have you never sat in a rocking car before? Never heard of a nursery rhyme called, Daddy's daddy is grandpa? Gu Mingming really could not give Leah a proper relationship, so she could only wink her eyes and say, Elvis is watching, what are you doing? Leah was even more confused. Elvis was watching. Was there a problem? Elvis would not object to it. Leah, let me tell you, if you continue making a fuss, Elvis will really get angry, and I won't be able to help you then. Gu Mingming patted Lee's shoulder earnestly, but before she could finish her sentence, Elvis said quietly at the side, I'm not angry. F*******. Gu Mingming looked at Elvis in shock, and suddenly felt discouraged. She turned to look at Leah and said, You see, this trick is useless. Leah looked into Gu Mingming's eyes, and used his finger to lift her chin, making her look straight into his eyes. Then he said slowly, Don't avoid my question. Tell me why you don't want me to be your partner? Why do you not like me? Hmm. Gu Mingming slapped Li's hand and pushed his hand away from her chin. Alright, stop pretending. I told you this trick is useless. Look at Elvis, he's not jealous at all. Why don't you just tell me directly? Why did you two quarrel? Let me, as your daughter, help you two to reconcile. Elvis totally did not understand what Gu Mingming was talking about. He said in confusion, I didn't quarrel with Leah. But Leah seemed to have thought of something as he suddenly raised his head and laughed out loud for a long while, until Gu Mingming's hair stood on end. Only then did he forcefully stop laughing. He placed one hand on Elvis's shoulder and inched his blood-stained face towards Elvis, but his eyes were looking at Gu Mingming disdainfully from the side. Just as his lips were about to touch Elvis's face, he suddenly stopped and turned around to face Gu Mingming, who was staring at him with a pair of innocent big eyes full of anticipation. Did you think that Elvis and I are partners? Huh. Gu Mingming felt embarrassed as if she had been exposed. Didn't they say that it could only be understood and not explained? Why did he say it out loud? Elvis's reaction was even bigger than Gu Mingming's. It was as if he had been struck by lightning, and it was to the extent that he was charred from the inside out. His face was extremely black as he squeezed out word by word from between his teeth. Leah and I are both males. Gu Mingming looked at Elvis and said helplessly, I know, but so what? You shouldn't be so concerned about how others see you. You're not living for those people who only know how to spread rumors. It's because you're always so concerned about how others see you and not willing to face your own feelings. That's why Leah is forced to be like this. Gu Mingming got more agitated as she spoke. She pulled Leah over and pointed at him. Look at him, look at him. How much did you force him to think of using mating with me to force you to face the feelings between you two? When are you going to stop running away? Gu Mingming's serious and angry face made Elvis really want to pry open her little head to see what was inside. Aside from the topic, come sing with me. Chapter 82. Leah, who was clearly in the midst of it all, pretended to be aggrieved while trying to hold back his laughter. He nodded his head cooperatively and looked at Elvis with a gloating expression. Elvis's forehead bulged with a thick and huge frown. He gritted his teeth and shouted, Leah! After being roared at by Elvis, a pair of furry triangular ears suddenly appeared on Li's head. The position was the same as Sandy's little bear ears, but they were not brown like Sandy's ears. Instead, they were pure white and furry little ears without any impurities. Li's action gave Elvis a shock. The anger he was about to explode was forcefully suppressed in his chest. One must know that a fully transformed orc would not have any beast characteristics. Could it be that Li's ears, had they degenerated? But there was no precedent in the beast world. Elvis was about to say something when he saw Li's fluffy big tail swinging around behind him. This time, not only Elvis, but all the orcs in Saint Nazir were shocked. Leah degenerated? He degenerated in fear after being roared at by Elvis. Leah. Elvis's brows furrowed into a dead knot. He opened his mouth, but did not know what to say. The reason why Saint Nazir could fight for a place among the strong enemies was not only because of his martial skills, but also because of Li's schemes. No matter who was missing, Saint Nazir would always be in a precarious situation and would become the target of others' attacks at any time. Especially when Gu Mingming, the messenger of the beast deity, was about to descend. Once Gu Mingming's identity was exposed, Saint Nazir would become the target of everyone. But at this time Leah degenerated. Compared to the nervousness of the others, Leah was much more relaxed. A fluffy and soft tail swayed around like a feather teaser, causing Gu Mingming to involuntarily stretch out her hands to hug it in her arms. Ever since Li's tail appeared, that pair of big innocent eyes had not shifted away at all. Her whole body was covered in pink bubbles, and her eyes were filled with surprise. Li's eyes were filled with happiness. But Leah would not let Gu Mingming have her way. It was as if he was teasing her on purpose. He would always pull away just when she was about to grab onto his tail, missing her dirty little hands by a hair's breadth. But at the same time, he did not move too far away from her. He swayed right in front of her, causing her to pounce on him again and again, as if she was a cat lured by a cat teaser. Leah smiled slyly and shook his head at Elvis, gesturing him not to worry. Then, he used his chin to point at Gu Mengmeng. Elvis turned back in confusion, only to realize that Gu Mengmeng had been teased by Lee's big tail to the point that she forgot herself. Elvis still did not quite understand. He furrowed his brows and cast a questioning look at Leah, but Leah just smiled and did not say anything. There were some things that did not need to be told to everyone. Leah swung his big tail and approached Gu Mengmeng step by step. Finally, he sent his fluffy tail into Gu Mengmeng's arms. Gu Mengmeng rubbed her face against Lee's big tail in satisfaction after hugging it. The satisfaction and happiness on her face could not be faked. At that moment, Lee's heart felt like it was being teased by a pair of little hands. That touch made his whole body go numb. Then a faint sweetness spread all over his body. He wanted this female. Leah moved his face that resembled a blood-stained white lotus to Gu Mengmeng, who was playing happily. He asked in a light and ambiguous tone, "Daddy Lee's tail, do you want it?" Aside from the topic, tomorrow at 12 noon, this article will be published. Once again, I beg my little babies not to keep reading for the next 3 days. From the 13th to the 16th, please follow the article every day and leave more comments. If anyone wants to reward Jean Eyre and Gu Mengmeng, please focus on pampering them during these 3 days. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.